Hello and welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm reviewing a clip from the Other Boleyn Girl movie. There are a lot of things that are so wrong in that movie, but what's very interesting in that scene is that it is kind of true, but they still made it wrong. Okay, so you're like, Esther, what do you mean by this? And I think the best way to describe my reactions and to show you how I feel about that scene is to watch it together and break it down. Let's do it.
From the king, Mr. Sand.
Open it.
So first of all, here we're supposed to be at Hever Castle, the childhood home of Anne Boleyn. And I don't know if you've ever been there. It is a beautiful, beautiful home. It's a beautiful Tudor castle. Where I'm not sure is that if they actually filmed there, there are lots of things that is wrong with just that scene. And here we're about 1527, 1528, where Henry VIII is pursuing Anne and he's sending her gifts. It might be even a bit earlier than that. And Anne is somehow playing a hard to get. Well, it's what actually people believe. And we're gonna have to break this down because it's all about the myth of Anne Boleyn either being the homewrecker or playing hard to get and being a seductress. In other words, she can't win.
Open it.
So here, as I said, Henry VIII is sending lots of magnificent gifts to Anne Boleyn. And you can see that she's like, oh my god, it's so beautiful. It's the most beautiful thing, that anyone has ever seen. And she's doing it in front of her servants. So here we want Anne Boleyn showing off, right?
Now send it back. You heard me.
She did what? Sent it.
So here again we have this Anne Boleyn who's like, that's not good enough for me. Kind of. And it's where, like, historically she did refuse gifts from Henry VIII. And people were like, she was just a seductress, she made him wanting her more. It's either that or she's a homewrecker who pursued Henry VIII. The truth is, she was neither of those things. She was not a homewrecker. She didn't pursue Henry VIII. It's very clear that it's Henry VIII who pursued Anne Boleyn. But equally, she was not just a seductress who was just so, full of herself that anything he was sending her was not good enough. So here, again, we have this bad image, this bad portrayal of Anne Boleyn, who she's just like refusing his gifts and not being appreciative for what he's doing for her. And obviously Henry VIII in that scene is very, very unhappy, which basically leads to the next scene, where again we pit against one another, the two sisters. Obviously the Other Boleyn Girl is based on a historical fiction, but a historical fiction that is based on history, or wants to be. And that's where I have a problem. It's like, why did we need to put Mary Boleyn and Anne Boleyn as these two rivals that hated each other, and Anne Boleyn being the bad sister and Mary Boleyn being the good one? That's where I have such a big problem with that movie. That scene is so despicable in the ways in which they are going to portray Anne Boleyn. You see her being absolutely, kind of antagonistic and almost cruel.
Anne. I meant to come sooner. I'm sorry I did not. I've been kept occupied.
So I hear. Amusing the king.
Only that, sister, I assure you. Despite his best efforts.
What, not yours?
So here we have Anne Boleyn visiting her sister Mary Boleyn, who is supposed to be pregnant with the king. And we have here Anne Boleyn, who in the movie, they made her go exile in France. If you haven't seen that clip where I review it, please go on my channel and look for it. You will see what I mean. That's ridiculous. But here she's coming back and she said, oh, you know, I'm amusing the king. But here Mary Boleyn is like saying, you want it. Can't you? You're the one who started it, when it's actually not true. So again, so in that movie, they do the myth of Anne Boleyn being so full, refusing the gifts, but in a way that is so non-appreciative, like, you know, she's just this brat. And then they also make her that one who actually pursued Henry VIII. None of it is true.
How is it?
The child is strong. He gives me no rest. Like his father.
Do you feel as awful as you look? You know, in France, no woman would allow herself to get in such a state.
Why did you come, Anne, if all you desire is to torment me?
Perhaps now you know how it feels.
That is such nasty lines. Like, I mean, you could not make her more annoying, disrespectful, and just nasty. She's properly nasty. Who would go to see a pregnant woman who's like probably 38 weeks pregnant, on bed rest, and like telling her she looks awful? That is just bad portrayal of Anne Boleyn, hands down. Like, I mean, you could not get worse than that.
To be deceived by your sister.
I did nothing.
You stole the king away, and then you betrayed me over Henry Percy.
If that's what you think, fine. Tell yourself that.
I did, sister. Every day and every night I was in exile.
So here again, we have this big rivalry with these two sisters that makes absolutely no sense. Mary didn't steal the king. Mary didn't have anything to do with Henry Percy. And all of it is because of the bad writing, the bad script of the movie. So you go from one bad, you know, really so bad, inaccurate scene from another one and from another one. But what's so interesting is also the dynamic between the two sisters. Well, it is just about rivalry, and there is absolutely no love or appreciation for one another, and it's just so sad. And then it gets worse.
A gift from the king.
Give it to my sister.
It's for you, Mistress Anne.
Me? Then send it back. Immediately. How dare you?
Oh gosh, that is so awful. At the same time, you know, like she's showing here, I guess there's a hint that Henry VIII is the bad guy here, because literally he got someone pregnant, doesn't give her any gifts, and he's like pursuing the sister with lots of gifts. So I do like that bit in that scene and in that movie, because when you really go deep down, it shows that it actually is Henry VIII who homewrecked his marriage with Catherine of Aragon, who mistreated Catherine of Aragon, who probably didn't treat anyone really well that was in his life. When you really look at all his relationships, men or women, you see this repeated pattern of him mistreating people that are close to him, turning his back on every one of them. That is who was the real Henry VIII. So here, the end of this scene is kind of like a bit of redemption, though it's always Anne being a bit nasty, like send it back, how dare you, when we feel like she's still playing that game. And you see the distress on Mary's face. But at the same time, it is so, in many ways, well done. Because it does show a little bit, glimpses. If you really kind of analyse the scene, maybe, it was truly Henry who was pursuing Anne. And Anne did nothing wrong, apart from not wanting to settle for just being a mistress. Can you really blame her? Let me know in the comments what you think about that scene, and if you agree with me about this idea that here we have a glimpse that actually Henry VIII might be kind of the bad guy. And I'm not sure they did it on purpose, but when you just look at that, you know, end of that scene, you really understand that, and I think it's quite interesting. Let me know in the comments what you think. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!